As someone from the United States who absolutely loves the state of Montana, when I found out there was a city in Bulgaria named Montana, I just knew I had to check it out. So I've been in Montana, Bulgaria for all of about 10 minutes. I wish it wasn't so painfully obvious that I'm a tourist, but it is. Despite spending quite a bit of time in Sofia, Bulgaria, the reaction I received from onlookers in Montana, Bulgaria was quite a bit different. I can only assume that Montana, Bulgaria does not get that many tourists, but fortunately, I was able to find an inexpensive and pretty nice hotel, although I will say I was confused when I tried to look for the shower. As you can see, the quote-unquote shower was nothing more than a handheld faucet. Well, I suppose it was a bit more than just the faucet. There was also a drain. After getting settled into my hotel and grabbing some dinner, I slowly made my way to a ruined ancient fortress. On my way to the fortress, I saw dozens of these memorial flyers. These flyers are not something that I have seen at all in Sofia, the capital city, but in some of Bulgaria's smaller towns and villages, I have seen many of them. They serve essentially as obituaries and also as remembrance notices to say that a family member has been gone for 5 years, 10 years, etc. The ancient fortress in Montana is called Castra Ad Montanesium, and it was built in the 1st century AD to protect the Roman town of Montanesium. On my first evening in Montana, I didn't spend much time actually exploring the ruined Roman fortress. Instead, I just watched the sunset and went back to my hotel. So it's my second day in Montana. It's a little after 6 p.m. and I've been cooped up in my hotel room all day because I had an important Zoom call and a training I needed to do before the Zoom call. Yeah, people are still kind of looking at me, staring, even curious about me, but I've just decided to embrace it. I don't have too much longer in this city and I want to make the most of it. So I am currently stopped by my favorite, I believe this would be considered a kiosk. I'm not really sure though, but yeah, so this is my second day, even though I'm getting a really late start, which is unfortunate, but I'm gonna make the most of my time in this cute little city. Before making my way back to the ancient fortress, Castra Ad Montanesium, I wanted to see the remains of an old Roman bathhouse. I was a bit shocked to find that the old Roman bathhouse was in such a terrible state. It was also being guarded by some very unfriendly looking cats. As much as I wanted to get close and really check out the ruined bathhouse, in addition to the mean looking cats, there was also this sophisticated lock mechanism keeping visitors out. It is truly amazing to me that such a fascinating piece of history is literally in people's backyards, and they probably walk by this every day, yet they're apathetic about it. I'm not quite sure if the juxtaposition of a coffee vending machine and Roman ruins is comical or just sad. Earlier, I mentioned that I wasn't quite sure if I was sitting beside a kiosk, and I was referring to communist era kiosks that were small, often makeshift retail structures, and these emerged across the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries during the socialist period, particularly in the 1950s through the 1980s. These sometimes bright colored kiosks were designed to offer basic goods to local populations in areas that lacked more formal retail spaces, such as grocery stores or department stores. Some previously communist countries, like Bulgaria, have preserved or revived these kiosks as cultural or nostalgic symbols of the communist era. My first trip to Castra Ad Montanesium was just to find where it was in the city of Montana and to watch the sunset, but now it's time to really check out the place. So I think maybe I was supposed to get on this green thing to get a better view, but I went with just hopping on over. Yeah, maybe I'll try this now, but the view's pretty great from where I'm standing. So that might sound like kind of a dumb blonde thing to say or do, but honestly, I was just so taken in by this fortress that I really wasn't concerned with whatever that green thing was in the background. Anywho, as mentioned previously, Castra Ad Montanesium was a Roman military fortress located in what is today the town of Montana, which is in the northwest of Bulgaria. This fortress was part of the Roman Empire's extensive network of military outposts along the strategic border of its provinces. The fortress was established during the Roman Empire's expansion into the Balkans, likely during the 1st century AD. Castra Ad Montanesium served as a key defensive and administrative post in the region. Its main purpose was to protect the surrounding area from external threats, such as invasions by tribes. So I feel a little bit, not much, but a little bit like I'm in the real Montana. And before anybody gets mad at me, I know that Montana, USA is not the real Montana. This is one heck of a leap. One of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing about traveling, is that it inspires me to try to understand the region that I'm visiting and the history of the region. While Montana, USA and Montana, Bulgaria may share a name, these two areas have very different histories, and I feel so fortunate that I have not only been able to visit them both, but I have been inspired to try to learn a bit about the history of both regions. This fortress remained in use until the late Roman period, which extended into the 4th and 5th centuries AD. However, the frequent raids by migrating tribes contributed to its eventual decline. So I was definitely disappointed about having such a busy day, being glued to my laptop and having to stay in my hotel room, but not coming out here until the sun was setting. What a treat. I would say that probably half of my travel adventures over the years have been with a group or with a friend, while the other half have been me traveling on my own. For me, there's something about solo travel that makes me feel really grateful for my ability to be independent, and solo travel also leads to a lot of self-reflection. And my experience visiting and exploring Castra Ad Montanesium and really Montana, Bulgaria in general was just really refreshing. It might sound silly, but never in a million years, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would be spending 10 weeks of my life in Bulgaria, nor would I have thought that, first of all, a place called Montana would even exist in Bulgaria, and that I would get to go there, that I would take a train that had tons of graffiti all over it and struggle with speakers who aren't fluent in English. And it's just so refreshing to feel like, wow, I'm doing this. For me, that's what travel is really all about. Growing, learning, reflecting, and being grateful for that opportunity to learn, grow, and experience new things. I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way to travel the world, but for me personally, I think I would take wandering through ancient Roman ruins on an evening over staying at some kind of resort any day. So call me crazy, but this little miniature hike might actually have been the highlight of my trip to Bulgaria so far. This was just so pleasant. Not only was it a little hike up a hill, it reminded me of Montana, USA. The sun setting has been absolutely beautiful, and yeah, I definitely don't regret coming to little old Montana, Bulgaria. When I visited Gdansk, Poland earlier this year, I felt like the old shipyard area had stolen a little piece of my heart, and I feel the same way about this fortress. Some places just really leave an impression on you. But now it's time for me to head back to Sofia. Or not. It is my third day in Montana, Bulgaria, or my second full day. I bought the same brunch I had yesterday. It is so delicious. I was supposed to be taking a train back to Sofia today, but I really wanted to explore more of the city that I haven't been able to see. I suppose that when people are walking by and they get too close, I'm a little bit camera shy. But yeah, I wanted to see more of the city, take my time, and the train tickets are very inexpensive. and the hotel price wasn't too bad either. So I'm gonna go back to Sofia tomorrow. But the thing about extending my stay, if it looks like I'm wearing the same shirt as yesterday, it's because I am. Sometimes traveling is not that glamorous, especially when you are on a budget, you are trying to pack lightly, and plans change, but I'm just rolling with it. I had spent so much time trying to stay on top of my work and visiting the ancient fortress that I had yet to visit the local museum. Of course, on my way there, I did get a little distracted when I saw a sign for a thrift store. The local history museum was definitely small, but it was still fantastic and had so much information. I tend to really like local history museums because they might not be as glamorous as, say, the Smithsonian, but it can be amazing how much history a small locality can actually have. When I spent last summer in Montana, USA, I was blessed to get to visit several museums, including the Gallatin County History Museum, which was a small local museum, but just like this Montana, Bulgaria local history museum, it had so much to offer. Montana, Bulgaria's history is incredibly vast. It was first established as a Roman military fort and later came under Byzantine control before being integrated into the First and Second Bulgarian empires. Montana fell to the Ottoman Empire in the late 14th century and remained under Ottoman control for nearly 500 years until Bulgaria's liberation in 1878. Following Bulgaria's nominal independence, Montana became an industrial center during the communist era, but being part of the Eastern Bloc meant the country was under Soviet influence and not truly independent until the fall of the People's Republic of Bulgaria in 1990. I think the local museum was the only place in the city that had any Montana souvenirs, and as much as I love getting stickers for my suitcases and magnets, I had to settle for a postcard and a not so high quality magnet. But hey, it says Montana and it's in the shape of Bulgaria, and that's pretty awesome. One of the last things I felt like I needed to see in Montana was the city square, so I leisurely made my way there, just kind of taking everything in. When I saw this little footpath, I wasn't quite sure if it was leading into a neighborhood or somewhere that I didn't belong, but I decided to check it out anyway. Fortunately, I had just stumbled upon an outdoor market. One thing I've noticed during my time in Bulgaria is that there seems to be a real appreciation for flowers, and you can find them for sale everywhere. just can't help but laugh, but I'm in a local park right now and I keep going up to statues and reading them, and I'm kind of catching glimpses of people's faces and they look disgusted that I'm curious about their country. Just outright disgusted.
Maybe it wasn't my curiosity that was disgusting people, but my presence more generally, but that's okay too. I don't know if this was supposed to be the land of misfit toys or something, but it just looked sad. And when I thought things couldn't look any more dreadful than that, I stumbled upon the playground.
If I'm being completely honest, it's kind of thrilling being in a place where I feel like I don't belong. And obviously I'm harmless. I'm not committing any crimes. I try to be as respectful as humanly possible, but just that feeling like, I don't know, I'm not supposed to be here. And I suppose it's that whole going out of your comfort zone kind of thing. Like I said, I'm completely harmless. I'm bringing money into this city. I'm trying to learn about it, but it's a little uncomfortable, not only for me, but it seems like for the onlookers who are curious and confused about what this blonde pale lady's doing. I just heard someone talking about Montana, and it occurred to me how southern I probably sound saying Montana. Yeah.
Check out those cute little kiosks. At this point, I was still leisurely making my way towards the city square when I heard what sounded like a horse. I tried to be as discreet as possible when I was filming them because I can only assume that those were Romani individuals, and it's my understanding that they don't like to be filmed. Montana, Bulgaria has a significant Romani or Gypsy population, as is common in many regions of the country. Some members of the Romani community continue to use horses and buggies as part of their traditional lifestyle. The main reason I made the journey to Montana's city square was to check out a monument called Mikhaylovgrad. Of course, please forgive my pronunciation because I may be a bit off. The monument was built to commemorate a man called Mikhaylov, who was a key figure in the Bulgarian Communist Party and a leader in the anti-fascist resistance during World War II. The city itself was actually renamed after him during the communist era until 1993, when it reverted to its current name, Montana. I had already extended my stay once, so it was time for me to grab some breakfast, head to the train station, and part ways with Montana.
So I just got my brunch. They were all out of my usual, so I had to try something new. And I also tried, or I'm going to try, some little chocolate looking sweets. And yes, people were staring, but I'll never understand why they stare, especially in my Montana sweatshirt, because I'm very clearly a local and very clearly repping for the home team. So yeah. I'm about a 4-minute walk from the train station. My train doesn't leave for another 2 hours, so I think I'll get there on time. I've been trying to avoid the rain as much as possible and walk for about a minute, seek shelter, walk for another minute. But as I get ready to leave Montana, Bulgaria, I just wanted to say that visiting this city was such a blessing and one that I do not take for granted. Even if people were a little bit curious about me and I did feel like people were staring at times, I really mean that getting to visit this city, yeah, it was a blessing, and I'm really, really grateful.
I'm definitely not going to claim that it was my dream city or anything like that. But as I mentioned previously, never in a million years would I have thought that I would have gotten to visit such a place. And I just think that's so cool.
It is surprisingly quiet and peaceful at the Montana train station. Everything in here is very old, which I absolutely love. I am so glad I decided to get here early and just kind of embrace the atmosphere. I'm also glad that I booked my ticket online because I'm not sure I would have been able to get much help here.
I was pretty intrigued by the year 1923 on the wall behind the ticket counter. In 1923, Bulgaria witnessed the September Uprising, a failed army insurrection led by the Bulgarian Communist Party against the government. The uprising was violently suppressed and resulted in thousands of deaths and arrests, underscoring the difficulties faced by the communist movement in the country. Of course, Bulgaria would ultimately adopt communism in 1946, establishing a socialist regime that lasted until the fall of communism in 1989. God willing, I just might get to visit Montana, Bulgaria again someday.